Welcome to another episode of the Managing Happiness Show, where we interview successful entrepreneurs on how they manage to have a happy family life while dealing with the madness of entrepreneurship. Today's guests are Amber and Kai Anderson. Amber is the founder of Kayson, a product management and strategy consulting company in Phoenix, Arizona. And both of them together run More, which is a pretty amazing business that is creating community that helps entrepreneurs to enjoy both family life and business, which is very similar to what we do here at Managing Happiness. So I'm super excited to have you guys on.
We're happy to be here. Thanks for
Happy to
inviting
be
us.
here. Thank you.
Let's maybe start with talking about why you exited the standard corporate America and focused on the things that, are closer to your heart.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start, Kai.
Okay.
All right. So our story kind of begins a long time ago. When I was growing up, my family was a working class family in Chicago, Illinois. And what I was taught is that the way that you become successful is you work hard. And so I always thought and envisioned my life being a executive or a CEO in a Fortune 500 company, or somehow working my way up the corporate ladder. And that's what success looked like for me. Until I moved on, I went on to college. I got a great job. I was working my way up in tech and decided at some point that I thought I could do better than this, but I wasn't really ready. And my family certainly wasn't supportive of me taking the risk of going out into entrepreneurship. And so I just continued to go down that path. I saw really good success and was able to be around some really smart people. And I felt like that was the American dream. And then eventually Kai and I got to the point where we said after 12 years together dating. We dated for 9 years. Then we got married. We were married for 12 years. So we were together for 12 years. And we decided that we were going to have a child. And so I was consulting at the time for a tech startup that focused on data analytics. We were working with some large universities here. And my water broke when I was 31 weeks pregnant. So I was 2 months early at work and rushed to the hospital when we realized that life was not going to work the way we wanted it to. So my son, Kayson, was born the next day, and our lives changed drastically at that moment. Our first picture of him was him in a coma. We weren't sure at that point if he was going to make it, and so we just kind of looked at ourselves and said, something has to change.
That's very similar to what I experienced with my wake-up moment when my wife Yoda was diagnosed with breast cancer. This was and both of my parents died from cancer. So this was kind of something that really shook my core. And it made me realize that, life can be over at any minute and you really have to do what you want to do, not to die with regrets. I envisioned me laying on my deathbed thinking, did I really do what I was supposed to do? And did I have the impact that I wanted to have? And this was, my wake up moment. So very similar to what you guys experienced.
Yeah. I think for me too, it was that I thought that I was going to slow down. I just felt like I had more time. I planned on it. I planned on taking a 3-month maternity leave. Kai was going to take off 3 months. That would be the moment in which we'd say, let's regroup and figure out what life is going to look like with a new baby. But we just didn't have the opportunity to do that. And so that's when we had to make adjustments kind of on the fly.
Did you end up going back to the job, or did you just
it's funny. So I we talk about this. I didn't have to, but my natural indication was that you go back. It was, again, going back to that kind of you need to stay, especially when things are rocky, stay on the safe lane, right? And so I started going back a little bit 2 months in. The company was high growth, right? We were scaling very quickly, had the ability to do some really amazing things, and they did go on to do some really amazing things. And so I toggled with, am I willing to give up my career at this point after everything that I've worked on because of this baby? And so I tried, and then I just realized that I couldn't do it. I couldn't be the mom that I wanted to be. I couldn't manage all of the things that were coming on board mentally to support a preemie baby and just kind of make sure he was okay and go back and work in this high intense environment. So 2 months into my maternity leave, I started to trickle back in. And then at the 3rd month, when it was time to go back, I said, I'm not coming back.
Did you read The Four Agreements by any chance?
No, I haven't.
It's on my maybe top 3 of books that had the biggest impact in my life. It talks about the agreements that you make with yourself, and without going into it too much, you basically did one thing that's described in the book. Like, you can't be, let's say, the world's best entrepreneur while being the world's best father as well. You kind of have to decide, what do you want? Otherwise, you just like have this constant chatter in your mind that will, not shut. It's going to be a constant tug of war. So it's, very important that you come clear with, what agreements do you make with yourself.
Yeah. Well, what we found is like, it's a real interesting dynamic because women now are becoming very involved in entrepreneurship and just business in general. And so motherhood is an interesting intersection of that, where women have been for years not had the opportunities. Now we do have opportunities to grow and scale and do all these amazing things. And then motherhood comes into the picture and you realize you're the only one that can breastfeed, right? You're the only one that the baby wants sometimes. And so having to make those decisions, literally. I think we went through like a 2-week period where if Kai tried to touch Kayson, he screamed.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it was interesting because I wanted to be a mother, and not knowing if I'd ever have that experience again. It was something that made me think about what my priorities were and what was really important to me. And I'd never been at that intersection before.
It's, something that we cover in the Managing Happiness course is to figure out your roles and responsibilities in your relationship. Because like traditionally it used to be, husband has to work and bring home the money, and women stay home and take care of the kids and take care of the households. And this is like really not the case anymore at all. And so I don't know how familiar you are with the Managing Happiness concept. It's applying business principles to your family life. And the roles and responsibility was the first thing that my wife and I did. And this took away 80% of all the friction we ever had in our relationship, because all these unspoken expectations and all this resentment that had built up because of these unspoken expectations just was gone immediately. So it's, I think it's very needed to do this in a relationship. And I'm curious, did you ever sit down and define your roles and responsibilities, maybe even in a written format?
I'll take this one. I think we kind of just fell into those roles. Me and Amber are really good at utilizing each other's strengths. So of course, Amber's good at certain things and I'm good at certain things. And it just so happened that once we applied that to our family life, it just clicked. We didn't really talk about it, have a conversation about it. It just kind of happened. Yeah, and like I said, we're both just good at saying, "Hey, you're good at this, I'm good at that." So let's make sure that we use those to get where we need to go, instead of trying to force her to do something that she's not strong at. And same thing with me. So, but I don't think it's something that we talked about though. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, so like
naturally.
my background's in more strategy, so I would force us to do strategic planning sessions every year. And I say force because in the beginning it was forcing him to do it. He didn't see value in it. Yes, you. He didn't understand the value of talking about where we wanted to be in 10 years. He's more of a tactical, tell me what you want me to do so I can do it kind of a driver. And I'm very strategic, high level visionary. So in the beginning of our relationship, it caused a lot of conflict because I would just be trying to force him to sit in a room, and he really just wanted me to get to the point. But what I found is that the more we did it and the more we were able to realize, okay, I can kind of see where your personality fits into and what your strengths are and what my strengths are, then we were able to allow each other to live in our roles. So he participates in the strategy sessions and now contributes more because he sees that out of it, he'll get the details that he needs to walk away with so he can apply them. And then I understand where we're going so that I can make sure that we have all our pieces in the right place. So we really actually naturally are a solid team when we look at it in that fashion. And we mimic the corporate environment, right? Where you have people that are strategic and then you have the more tactical teams. And that, by identifying that, has helped us tremendously in our family life because we know how we need to communicate, but also in our business because now we align ourselves appropriately to where we're going to be most successful. So So I think we did do it. I think we probably weren't as formal as, the courses, which we would have benefited a lot had you had the course available, David. We would have taken it and it would have resolved a lot of pain. But I think we naturally did get there.
Yeah. It's a very common theme that when when somebody's strategic or somebody just works in an office environment all day long, or is an entrepreneur, then it comes very natural that you see the value of these things that you do in the course, because not having a proper strategy or not having regular meetings, etc. Like in the business setting, you think like this, how can we survive? It doesn't work. And so you see the value of like why this makes sense to do this at home. And I was really struggling to get my wife to appreciate it. In the beginning it was like, kind of a constant battle, but over time she saw the benefits, and then she kind of I actually have to ask her if she enjoys it by now, but in the beginning I was managing everything in Excel and Google spreadsheets, and she really hated this. Like, for example, when we sat down to do our family bucket list together, which is actually a fun exercise. You talk about the stuff that you want to do and you want to experience. But we were at a nice brunch, and afterwards, I want to make sure we're in the right mindset when we talk about these things. And then we're like, okay, you want to do this now? And it's like, okay, cool. So I popped up my laptop, and she's like, this feels like work. Like,
yep.
And so we just wrote it down on a piece of paper, and and later we moved it over to Trello. So I don't know if you know Trello software. So with using Trello, she liked it much more because it's more visual and more intuitive. So.
Yeah. So we have Asana.
I hate Excel.
Yeah, he hates it. But
Amber loves Excel.
I love Excel. I love Asana. But I think I found that he really enjoys just whiteboarding it. Just put it up, and then he'll take his own notes and then walk away, and then I'll manage it in whatever system's best for me. And then we'll report back, weekly and quarterly on how we're doing.
Mm-hmm. What kind of do you, in the course I propose to have, a weekly family meeting. We have a monthly budget meeting. We have a quarterly net worth tracking meeting. And, do you have what are your repeating meetings that you have for?
Yeah, so we have an annual retreat that we do. So we'll go away and we'll talk about what is it that we did for the year, but we also follow a 5-year plan. So we have a 5-year strategic plan, and then we do quarterly check-ins. And then Kai manages actually the finances. So I don't know if it's every month or every week. He goes through and evaluates, and then he checks in with me. We probably should do a financial review meeting, but those are generally when we have something that has popped up that takes us off our path. But so I guess we do a 5-year plan. We have an annual retreat, and then we do quarterly check-ins. As a unit.
We try to do daily check-ins, but our 3-year-old won't let us do
it. We would try and do daily check-ins, but he doesn't.
Our toddler won't let us talk to each other when we're around him, so that can be done.
Yeah, we have a quote unquote stand up at breakfast, just trying to go over hey, anything important on your day to day, something where you need me, to kind of make sure we're on the same page.
That's smart.
And in terms of goals, in Magic Happiness, my wife and I, when we started, we have sections of health, growth, wealth, fun, and relationship. Do you have it broken down to categories like this or something similar?
We do. So we have individual ones. So Kai has his own, Kayson has his own, I have my own. Especially having a child, we think it's really important for him to have his own strategic plan. So what do we want him to go through? Then we have...
How old is he?
He's 3.5. Mm-hmm. Do you see this kid?
Same age.
I'm
that's really
our 3.5-year-old has a strategic plan that we've been taking him through. but we do. I mean, we feel like, if we want him to be in a certain place, we're the ones that have to put him there. And so we don't want to just randomly throw him at things, but really understand and think through, what our mission and vision is for him, right? And what our mission and vision is for our family. And so we each have our personal one. We have a relationship bucket. We have a business bucket. Those are usually the one, and then a finance bucket. Those are the ones that we constantly have goals aligned to.
Yeah, I'm a huge personal development geek, so I needed the growth buckets to define like kind of, what I want to do this year or what I want to accomplish in the next 5 years. So it's something that I personally think it's really, for me, it's super important. Also my favorite one. That's really cool. So funny how aligned we are, kind of like.
Is your wife involved in your businesses at all, or what does she do?
My wife, in Germany, we had a business together. It was mainly her brother and her. It was a something like Z Gallery. I don't know if they're in Phoenix as well. It's like home
we have
furnishing.
Z Gallery.
Yeah, it was something like this. Their own brand, small, like 4 stores in Germany. And when I decided that we want to move, I want to move to Los Angeles, I kind of forced her into getting out of there. And then when we moved to LA, she was just at home. Like in the beginning, she was really, really bored, and then she started to volunteer with some dog shelters or animal shelters, and then she started packpeople.com, where she was interviewing rescues and just like, making an impact in this regard. And this brought her at some point, so she went back to do interior design. And then we had Emma, and then, she takes care of Emma.
Yeah. It's a full-time job.
Yeah,
it is very much. And we also have 4 dogs.
Oh.
And,
oh my.
And we actually, I think this week we're getting two ducks.
Really?
And 2 chicken or something like this, yeah.
Does she love,
That's
she
really
loves
2
animals?
chickens?
Yeah, she's crazy about animals. And we moved to Turkey on this big plot of land, and we grow our own vegetables. She grows them. Like I made clear that I don't want to participate in these activities because I don't really enjoy that much. I mean, I walk the dogs and I love the dogs, but I don't want to deal with chicken or digging in the garden. Something I don't really enjoy.
Yeah.
In terms of mission, vision, values, did you define your vision statements and mission statements or your family core values? Do you have, for me, it's a very important decision filter when I want to make bigger decisions. That I just like run it through my mission, vision, and values to see if this is in line with who I want to be or who we want to be.
Yeah. So, I think all this strategy stuff, I'm speaking up because I'm the one that traditionally is going to lead those efforts. So we do. For our businesses, we're a lot more formal. We have a written out mission statement. For our family, it's really quite simple. Our whole focus is to be able to spend as much time as we can collectively with our family, doing the things that we want and the things that we love. It's very simple. We find happiness with each other. And so what we'd like to be able to do is figure out ways that we can use each other's strengths to continue to engage in activities that make us happy. So that's really where more kind of came in, understanding that there were elements of work that we enjoyed and things that we had to do, but how could we create businesses around our family that had us doing everything as much as possible together? Because one of the things that we noticed when we were in the hospital is that we were the only family. So we were in the neo-intensive care unit for 3 weeks. In that time, there were babies that came and went. There were babies that died. There were babies that never saw their parents there because they had to go back to work or the parents couldn't handle it. And so we realized really quickly that what was most important to us was to be present. And that meant not within the confines of what other people have defined as being present. Like, your kids go off to school 9 to 5 and then you go to work, but really like looking at it at a 24-hour day and saying, what's the most effective way for us all to be present and giving each other the things that they need to hit their individual goals. And that meant redefining what life looked like for us.
And so how does life look now?
Crazy.
Difficult.
So life for us.
Ill prepared.
No, it's not. So you have a 3-year-old, right? So like these first 5 to 6 years are just, figuring everything out and understanding what those children need. And so we had some core things that were important to us. Kai kind of drove some of those. Like we didn't want to put Kayson in daycare. So we find that the first 5 years of your children's life, you're really figuring out who they are and what do they need? What do they like? And so being able to create an environment where we had him surrounded by us so we could learn that meant that we weren't going to put him in daycare, so we could be home with him. And I think traditionally, it would be one parent doing it, and we felt like it was important for us both to be there. We wanted him to have his mom and his dad be part of his life. So today we split time with him. I have him in the mornings, and then I go to work in the afternoons, and Kai has him in the afternoons. And he's with his parents majority of the day.
That's awesome. How do you entertain him? Like Emma needs
constant.
Because Emma, we've sent Emma to daycare very early, and we've been very lucky in Los Angeles. We found one that's a daycare that was 100% in line with our hippie values. It was like just a very non-traditional, no pressure, just like play in the dirt, do whatever you want, and also focus on organic and holistic, and was very hippie, let's so to say. And we've kind of found the same thing here in Bodrum. So and Emma really loves going there. Sometimes we say like, hey, do you want to go to the beach together today? And she's like, no, I want to go to preschool. I'm like, all right. So question, how do you constantly entertain your little man for 7 days a week? It's like it sounds challenging.
I think it's the same as we said earlier about using each other's strengths. So when our child's with Amber, he does a lot more learning stuff. Go to the museum, they go to the aquarium, they do things such as that. And then when he's with me, we do all the outdoor activities. We play football. I taught him how to ride a bike. I taught him how to swim. Take him to the park. So like I said, I think it's just using each other's strengths to keep him busy. And like I said, he's really high energy, very, very smart, very intelligent. So that can be challenging, but I think we do a pretty good job of balancing him getting his outside, physical activity plus his learning stuff, and as well as social. Amber has some friends that she have toddlers around his age, and they hang out and whatnot. So I think we do a pretty good job of kind of keeping him well-rounded in that sense.
That's really pretty awesome. I really admire this. I think to some degree I'm a little too egoistic to do that. I kind of have my, sounds really bad, but I'm German, no emotions, just like presenting facts.
Well, go ahead, David.
Yeah, I think I have my own agenda, and I love Emma to death. And I have my when she comes home from preschool, I block 2.5 hours, and then I'm just like 100% there for her, and just like totally 100% focused on her, just do stupid stuff with her, whatever she wants to do. And so my philosophy with this is, I guess, coming from being somewhat egoistic, that even though I can't be there with her all the time, but when I'm there, I'm like 100% focused, and nothing else counts other than her. But yeah, I admire what you do. Do you plan on homeschool as well?
We do.
Do you want to homeschool him?
Yeah. And, I think the thing is, remember, so I'm a strategist, and so what we usually do, and this is applying your business principles to home, is you usually will go out and you'll look at the data, right? You'll say, what does the market look like for this particular business? And then I'm going to design my business model to fit into the market. And what was really interesting is before Kai and I had Kayson, we just kind of lived life so carelessly. I mean, it sounds bad to say that, but you just think about yourself and you're like, I have, my things that I'm interested in. I have the things you're interested in. We know how to navigate throughout the world. But once we decided we were going to have a child and I became pregnant, I started to look at what the environment looked like for my son. And we live in the United States. So just looking at some of the data and the statistics for little Black boys growing up in America was very interesting. One big one that popped up was like, at this point, the rate of prison for Black boys is 1 in 3 will be in prison in their lifetime. Black boys born after 2002, 1 in 3.
That is
insane. And it gets even worse when you start to look at the statistics in school. So remember, my background's in tech ed. So I did a lot of research around what are some of the challenges that are going on in school. And you see a lot of minority children drifting apart. And you see them immediately starting in some areas as early as kindergarten, getting disciplined early, and then they're leading to tracks that are taking them down this school to prison pipeline. So we don't get a chance to talk about that kind of stuff much, about what is it that's beyond just the cute little baby, but when you put them into an environment that you want them to be successful in, what are the things that you need to give them to be there, right? And for us, recognizing some of the things that our son was going to be up against, the fact that he has a really high prison rate, or he might experience disservices in this traditional school system, or that his learning may be different. He was a preemie. I don't know, right? I don't know what he's going to need to learn. It became really apparent that we needed to be there to understand that so we could make the best decisions for him. So in an ideal scenario, would I be cooking with a toddler on Tuesday? I don't know. You know, I'm sure my business might have scaled faster if I didn't, but the most important thing to me in my life is to make sure that my son is successful, and it's my job to get him there. Then I make those adjustments to ensure that he has the tools to do that. And right now, the best adjustment is to make sure that if he learns better in a homeschool environment, that we give him that. If he needs to run and can't afford to only have 15 minutes of activity time outside, then we need to give him that. And so that's kind of the stuff we discuss in our strategic planning sessions, is what do we need for our family to be successful? And that sometimes means thinking out of the box.
Wow. That's really, really awesome. As I said, I really admire how you tackle this. And it's really sad to think about how much of a disadvantage, to start looking at the numbers you have when you are a minority.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing where when we started more, we were kind of thinking it's not just about giving people the opportunity to just spend time, but really think about your individual situation. Every single family is different, right? Every business is different. You can bring in a consultant to give you guidance, but you need to understand what your dynamics are. What are the things that are influencing your ability to be successful? What does your resources look like? And then from there, let's come up with a plan that helps you guys live your best life. That's what we're trying to do.
It's a really good segue to talk a little bit about more, and what you really do in more. And one thing I'm really annoying with this, and I annoy everybody with this, and I'm gonna annoy you with this as well. You just use the word try, and it's the word that I'd like to eliminate from the English language. I think that trying is the most inefficient way not to do something, like either do or do not. There is no try, as Yoda said. If you want to try to quit smoking, or you want to try to lose weight, it's just either exercise more and eat less, or don't even bother, So, yeah. And I think also from an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming standpoint, you program your mind when you say we're trying to do this. It's kind of like not giving it everything, not kind of being scared, acting out of fear versus out of love. So sorry for interrupting you, but it's like my thing, my message that I have to get out there to everybody.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. I like that because I don't like the word can't. It's kind of the same thing. I always tell my son, do not say the word can't, because he'll say something like, oh, I can't go up the stairs. It's like, yes, you can. You may not want to, but you can. Your feet work. Nothing's wrong with your legs, so you can. So that's the same thing, like you said, with try. So I like that. I might start adopting that. I like that. Don't use the word try. Just, like you said, I think it was Bruce Lee that said do or do not do. Like there's no in between. Either you do it or you don't. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, please join the movement of annoying people. Let's use the word try.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Something that it's also very much the same thing. It's making decisions out of love and not out of fear. If you try, then there is an element of fear in it, and when you do, then it's more on the love aspect to actually doing something. And the love and fear thing, I mentioned this many times on this podcast, but I'm gonna do it again because I think it's made a very big impact in my life. I believe that every decision in life you either make out of love or out of fear. And when you make them out of love, you're on the right path. If you make them out of fear, you're on the wrong path. And I can give you millions of examples where this works. I'll just give you two, one in sales and one at home. If you're a salesman, if you want to, sell, I want to sell you this product, and I know that this is a good product and I know this is going to solve your pain points, then I'm selling out of love, right? Because I want to enrich your life. Versus if I sell out of fear and I think about the numbers that I have to hit, the mortgage that I have to pay, and this is my motivation to sell something to you, then I'm selling out of fear, then I'm taking away from you. And also you feel that where I'm coming from, is this an act of love or is this an act of fear? And you're way more likely to buy from me if I'm acting out of love versus acting out of fear, right? And at home, my wife always asked me to do home improvement stuff, like, hey, could you put this thing together that I bought, or could you help me to dig in the garden or stuff like this, right? And this is really the least favorite thing of all times for me, and I always did these things out of fear because I didn't want conflict with my wife, and then I hated every minute of it. And the result always sucked because I was not doing it with love. When you do a job not with love, then the result is always shitty. And then I had to fight with my wife afterwards anyway because it was not up to her spec, So nobody was winning, And now knowing this, having this love and fear thing internalized, with these things I still start out of fear because I still don't like it, but then I switch to love because I want to make my wife happy and I want to make our place nicer, and all of a sudden the work is much easier, and I actually start to enjoy this stuff, so.
I love it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I love it.
I like that.
So, sorry for interrupting you. I went off.
No,
on
it's good.
Let's bring it back to what do you do at More?
Yeah, so at More, our whole focus is creating an environment where people can grow personally and professionally without having to leave their family behind. So again, big stats person, we recognized really quickly that 40% of women now are the breadwinners in their families in America. And so we were coming into a challenge where women wanted to work. They, like me, right? I mean, we wanted to work, we had to work, but also we're struggling with guilt and needed an environment where they could do so without having to compromise. A large majority are leaving corporate positions or they're scaling back because there isn't enough spaces where people can be both. And it started off selfishly as something that I needed. And then as I started to talk to Kai more, he was like, well, wait a minute, dads want more too, right? Like we want to be able to be with our families. We want to enjoy our children. We want to be there and be present. And it's expected of me to go off and go to work and only have a couple hours a day. And that's not what I want. And so we started to just create these environments where people can bring their families together and network, attend conferences, be together, and still continue to grow personally and professionally. So that's what we do at More.
So you bring people, so it's mainly about networking, bringing the people together so then they can exchange ways how they have solved these issues?
So what we do is a couple different things. So we hold a networking series, which is called Milk, Beer, Wine. And what we do is we rent out a children's museum, and it's like networking, but you bring your kids. So we have on-site childcare. We have nannies that entertain the kids. We play movies in the children's museum, and the parents get to have a drink and hang out and meet people within their communities, which naturally is going to bring you together and do networking. So technically it's a networking event, but at the end of the day, it's just about creating a space where people can come together and meet people within their community with your children. And then we held a family-friendly business conference. It's an annual conference where we host different types of workshops and sessions, just like you would traditionally. So a marketing session, you could do, we do business strategy sessions, etc. And then we also intertwine it with other types of sessions, like relationship sessions and sessions on how to do family planning and things like that. So it was designed for, again, the individuals who have younger children who can't go off and do those types of business conferences without sacrificing time or making it really difficult on their significant other, to be able to have the exact same experience with their kids and their spouses on board.
That's really awesome.
And then we're planning on opening a co-working space that's family friendly here in 2018. I
think there was one in LA that I stumbled across a while back. that was a family-friendly co-working space.
Yeah, they're popping up. So we've seen a lot of spaces that pop up that say they're on-site childcare, and a lot of them target women. Ours will be primarily focused on truly like the family. So mom and dad drive in together. They work from the space together. The kids are on site with them. In the middle of the day, if you want to go off and do yoga, you can do yoga. We'd have things like dinner on site if you choose to. We'd continue to integrate some of the various programs that are going to help you with not just managing your business, but also having conversations like managing happiness would be awesome for the community to be able to have access to. So it's really going to be designed around making sure that your family is running efficiently. And your business is a part of that, but your business isn't always the only thing you can focus on. And compartmentalizing it, we think sometimes makes more challenges than is necessary. So if we were to look at life differently, we'd probably start with the family and design a space around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. When you compartmentalize, then you always have the tug of war. It has to be holistically integrated and one. What's the name of the conference and when is the next one planned?
Yeah, so our conference is More Retreat, and we haven't announced the date for 2018 yet. 2017 and 2016 were held at the Ritz-Carlton in Marana, which is just on the way to Tucson in Arizona. And we will be announcing, I think, I don't know when we're going to announce the 2018 one yet. We've got a couple of other partners we might be bringing in that'll make it a little bit different this year that we're kind of excited about. But it'll always be in the summer of 2000. It'll be in the summer all the time. But in 2018, we'll have the dates in a couple months.
Okay, awesome. Let me know. Maybe I'll drop by when I'm in.
Nice.
I know. And we're excited about managing happiness because we think those are the types of skills that our community for sure needs, so that we can start to have those conversations without making the mistakes that we had to make and learning the hard way, getting going right away.
Very cool. I really like what you guys do. Traditional questions on the show are always like, how do you manage work-life balance? But it seems like you've kind of set this up from the start to be very focused on this, and so there's not that many hacks needed, or do you have any hacks that you can?
Okay, so do you have any work-life balance hacks? Or we would say probably work-life integration is the solution that we came up with instead.
Do I have any hacks? Huh.
Tire the kid out so that he goes to sleep.
I don't know.
I think stop thinking about it as work-life balance. Like, I think we start to get into more complexity when we look at things in compartments, right? We have 24 hours in a day. If I look at it that way, then I have an opportunity to readjust things so that they match better. We know we need to sleep. We know we need to eat, so we can take those hours out. And then, figuring out ways that we can start to do things differently with the remaining time that match our goals has really been, I think, an eye-opener for us. When we talked about work-life balance, we were putting ourselves already into a box that we were then trying to work. Yeah, we were trying to work with that within. It's
the tug of war again. Actually, I don't like this word. I just use it all the time because
it's the only word.
The standard, it's the only word. But work-life integration makes a lot of sense.
So I think that's what we've been trying to do, and it helps.
You're trying again.
You know what? David, you have to take that out. So you edit that out, and I'm going to re-say it. I'm going to be honest. So I feel like this is a so nobody's perfect, right? So this is a new territory for us. I'm a strategist, so I usually have more time to figure out and think through all the philosophies and more data to go over. And really, frankly, there's nothing. Nobody has come up with an easy way for people to do this. We are all kind of the first. So I need to stop saying trying, because now I'm not trying, I'm doing it. But I also think it'll add some confidence to say, we're moving in the right direction, and even though nobody's proven me right yet, me continuing to be honest and focus on the things that are important, it will be the right decisions for our family. It is the right decision for our family, the things that we're doing and the changes that we're making. So thanks for calling me out.
I'll do. It's like really deeply ingrained in me because I've been doing this for years, and every time it comes up, I'm like,
Yeah.
so this is why I said I'm really annoying
Yeah,
with this.
no, it's true, you know, and
It makes
it does.
sense.
It's true. It's really true.
It's something that you said with the data. It's something that's also so mind-boggling to me to think about how much money and time was invested to perfect business. Like it's taught at university, etc. So and how little people think on how to make family work. It's well with managing happiness. The beauty is that you can take these principles and just apply them to your family as well. Because all these things you do in the business is to make these people in this business successful and aligned, and that there's no friction. And family is also just a group of people, so these things translate over.
Yeah.
Really,
So
really
Kai,
nicely.
I mean, you can kind of talk. What's interesting is that I didn't come from an entrepreneurial background, and yet I'm the one that drives the entrepreneurial aspects of our family and our businesses. Kai comes from an entrepreneurial background, and yet his family didn't necessarily pass any of those traits on or give you any of the information. You want to talk about that, Kai?
Yeah, well, basically, my mom at one point had owned a clothing store. My uncle had owned a business that was dealing with some at-risk adults. Um, I had some. I think my father at one point owned a store. So I think the unfortunate thing is all those values and whatnot didn't come down to trickle down to me. So I know I was just used to your typical, work your 9 to 5, go home, eat dinner, and go to sleep. But like we said before, once we had our child in the way that we had him, it just opened up our eyes to a whole different world that we needed to tackle. And I mean, I think the unfortunate thing is the way society is set up. I'm not sure how it is in Germany, but in America, it really is. It really is like the American dream. You're supposed to work your little job, get the house, get the dog, get the fence, and then that's perfection, right? And that's what they shove down our throat. But at the same time, it's like, well, what if I don't want to do that? So Amber and I, we're not trying to do this. We are, we are saying that we are going to invest everything we have into our family, and everything else will fall into place from
On
there.
a place, yeah.
Right. Instead of building somebody else's dream, we're going to build our dream, surround with our family as the core of what we're doing it for. So
And then our son,
did I get off topic?
and then I think the point is that our son should learn from us by being part of it. Right? So he should then be able to take all of the things that he learns by participating in the sessions, by being at a conference, by being part of networking events.
Oh yeah, just like by just because he's around you all the time, he will just like naturally, learn this. Kids don't do what you tell them; they do what
That's
you
right.
do. And if they see you work hard, if they see you plan, if they see you read books, like they will think that's the way
the
how
way you do
life
it.
works, and then they'll do it. Versus if they see you fight, if they see you eat poor, if they see you, then if they see you smoke, then they'll think that's and this will also rub off. In terms of with having businesses and not necessarily passing the mindset on, or these thoughts, is I had a lot of businesses before MaxCDN, which was the last business that I sold, and MaxCDN was by far the biggest one. And only in MaxCDN I really understood or even saw the necessity of like, why does it make so much sense to have a mission statement, vision statement, core values, etc. And before I always just thought like, hey, that's total BS. I'd rather build some product and ship some product or close some deals versus just like focusing on this stuff that will just end up in a PowerPoint presentation or somewhere on the website. Nobody cares about it, So only once you're actually do something at scale, then you will realize how important these things are, And then this is like at least for me, And I dropped out of school at a young age, so I didn't have any formal education. I was always just a kind of entrepreneurial figuring stuff out, as I went, So this is probably also why I, all these things were just like foreign concepts to me. Guys, this was really, really awesome. I'm very happy that I met you guys, and thank you, YC.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I really dig what you do, and if any if there's any way how I can support you guys, do anything, I'm there. It's like very in line with my personal mission statement to improve the lives of people. I'm focusing on improving the lives of entrepreneurs too, so they can have work-life integration. I'm not using the bad word anymore. So yeah, please. I usually always wrap up the podcast with asking the question about the books that had the biggest impact in your life. I always ask this question when I interview people to hire them, because I want to see if they're in a growth mindset, but also for selfish reasons, because I want to get good book tips. So I'm curious if you have any books that really impacted you that you want to share.
So one I really like is The One Thing. So have you read that one yet?
Yes,
I really like it.
Focus,
right? And so being able to take that and apply to where I am today, this is why you continue to hear us say, what is my big thing? It's family. Right? And then how do I align everything around that and be really centered around that aspect? And so there's another one that I'm reading, but I really am like, I just need to pull it up. But I think Kai's more of a podcast guy, and we haven't had any time because Kayson takes over our entire day to read anything new.
So literally.
What's your favorite podcast?
How I Built This is one that we're really interested in now.
So how they built this is on how people have built their businesses, or how they built certain products?
How I Built This is about famous businesses, like CEOs from big businesses like Rent the Runway, Airbnb, how they built and scaled their businesses. And then the other book I told you that I was reading that I really like is called The Big Leap. Have you read that by Gay Hendricks?
No.
I'll send that one to you as well. It's kind of talking about the same things you were talking about, that maybe you're holding yourself back, and really being focused and intentional on moving forward and confident.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, guys. Is there anything you need? Any open positions? I guess you don't know the time and date of the conference yet, but anything you want? Yeah, you have a podcast, The New More.
We do, yes. We have the New More podcast, which Kai and I host. It is bi-weekly on Wednesdays, and we'll be launching, like I said, that co-working space here in Phoenix with the goal of scaling that in 2018. So we're really excited about that.
That podcast is family integrated, because even our son is on the podcast too.
Yeah.
Well,
he does the intro and the outro.
Yeah.
He does the opening and the outro. So we got the family involved in everything.
Yes.
That's really awesome. Yeah. Also on the New More, you have your business, the photography business, integrated in the shop, right? So it's like really kind of everything working together, which is really awesome. I like that.
Exactly.
Well, cool, guys. This was really, really awesome. Thank you for being on. And we will definitely stay connected and see how we can work together to almost set fight to the fight, but to help entrepreneurs to live an integrated, how do you word this best?
Yeah, just to live their best integrated life. Just live their best life, I think.
Just live life, live life.
Awesome, guys.
All right, David.